Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 20th edition of Today in the World of Wrestling. Tonight we are covering the episode of Monday Night Raw that was aired on August 1st, 2016. And man, what do you think about this show, John? This is pretty decent. What did you say?
Yeah, I think overall I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but it was more of a mixed bag, I should say, from the preceding week.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We started with a bang and we ended with a bang, and there was a mixed bag in the middle. So let's get right into the recap. First thing that happens is a big cluster of names just being in the ring and talking to each other and insulting each other. We start with Sasha, and then Charlotte comes out and insults her, and then Jericho comes out to help Charlotte for some reason, and then Enzo Amore comes out, no big cast in sight, to help Sasha, and we end up with a mixed tag match between these four. Charlotte and Chris Jericho versus Sasha and Enzo Amore, and randomly we also have Kevin Owens on commentary, so there's that.
Yeah, a lot of intriguing elements coming together, but for a very enjoyable segment for sure.
Definitely. As it turns out, though, sort of surprisingly, because of a Dana Brooke distraction, Charlotte ends up pinning Sasha Banks with a natural selection, and then Chris Jericho, after the match is over, hits Enzo with a codebreaker, which causes Big Cass, who was, I guess, backstage, to come out to defend his buddy. Then we had actually three, I would say, sort of squash matches tonight. The first being Braun Strowman versus Evan Anderholt.
Yeah, still really like that they're utilizing squash matches for Braun Strowman.
So Braun destroyed him, and then later on in the night, we also got Nia Jax, who destroyed Ariel Monroe.
Also nicely done there.
And the final sort of squash match actually happened in an improv kind of manner because Heath Slater came out with a live mic, continues to claim that he is the hottest free agent in sports entertainment, and he brought one of his best friends, Jinder Mahal, to Raw, and he said that it's the two-man band, baby, and then Mick Foley comes out and says he's got one roster spot, so you guys are going to have a match, and whoever wins gets the spot. And Heath Slater's just like, no, man, you can't tear up the band. We're best friends. We're never gonna. And then the bell rings. Jinder Mahal hits him with a big boot, and he gets the pin for the contract.
Curious to see what Jinder Mahal does on Raw after all this time.
Definitely. So then we got a backstage segment. Stephanie and Mick talking about how, they would never want to be in there with Braun Strowman. And then Mark Henry shows up, who's excited for the new era, but he thinks that he needs one more run. Stephanie tells him, I really kind of wanted you as a mentor for the guys. They all look up to you. And Mark's just like, you know what? You're wrong. I got a lot left in the tank. And Mick Foley's just like, you know what, Mark? You're right. Let's get you in a United States Championship match tonight with Rusev. See what you can do. And Mark Henry says, that's right. That's what I do.
Really enjoyed Henry's promo here. When he's on, he's on.
In the meantime, Golden Truth are still playing Pokemon Go. I'm surprised that they managed to keep this angle going for more than 1 week, but alas, they end up in a tag team match with the Shining Stars, and R-Truth continuously being obsessed with Pokemon Go actually cost them this match. Primo pinned Goldust.
All of my hate, but I'm happy Shining Stars got the win.
We had a great in-ring talking segment where Michael Cole is about to interview Finn Balor. However, Seth Rollins comes out, interrupts everything, tells Cole to, bugger off, you're not good at your job anyway, and reminds Finn that everything Finn's been doing that's sort of really important and accomplishment worthy, Seth did it first. He won the NXT title first, he beat Roman Reigns first, all this stuff, but then Finn says, I'm going to beat you and be the first to win the Universal title.
Really enjoyed this exchange between these two. I thought it was a great way to promote their match at SummerSlam.
Finn makes fun of Seth's laugh and then says, everywhere I've ever been, there's always been a guy just like you that claimed to be the man. And you know what I did? I beat them and I took their spot, and that's what I'm going to do to you. And now Seth's getting kind of worked up. He says, you know what, Finn? You can find out what I'm all about. Just watch me later on tonight when I face your buddy from NXT, Sami Zayn. Finn says, the one other thing that makes us different is that I've always had to earn my shots, and you got yours handed to you. Seth disagrees, and we end up where Finn tells Seth, look, man, the only thing that's getting handed to you at SummerSlam is your ass.
Loved it. Loved this from Finn.
Seth tried to attack Finn, but Finn, with the punch, back fist, Pele kick combo, knocked Seth out of the ring and maintained his dominance. Then, though, we got our fourth match of the night, Rusev versus Mark Henry. Rusev made JoJo announce his name first, so that's interesting. But at the end of the day, the new era begins with Rusev, and he made Mark Henry tap out to the accolade.
You're damn right he did.
Then he talks about no American being able to beat him, and of all people, we got Roman freaking Reigns coming out to confront Rusev.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this on TwitWoW.
Yeah, so do I. So then we had another match here between Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. We saw that backstage. Titus said to Darren, "Hey man, in order to make you great again, wouldn't you have had to have been great at some time in the past in the first place?" And obviously that was kind of just a mean thing to say. But then in the match itself, Titus won via roll up, but he had Darren Young's tights. And Bob Backlund was really angry about this and freaked out on the ref after the match was over.
Yeah, interesting angle. We'll have to see where it goes.
So then we had this whole thing with Sheamus and Cesaro. They show up in Stephanie and Mick Foley's office, and they're complaining. They're frustrated about how the draft went and everything. And Mick Foley says, "You know what? You guys get to face each other tonight. Take out all that anger on each other, and whoever impresses us most gets a future championship match."
I like how he was intentionally vague with the championship, and we don't know which championship.
Yeah, that's true. Bob Backlund is a rage monster, and he is just screaming at maximum volume at Titus O'Neil. Titus straight up tells Bob that he better calm down or he'd knock his old ass out, but then Darren Young snaps, attacks Titus, and needs to be restrained by Backlund.
Yeah, good fire here from Darren Young.
Absolutely. The New Day had a segment as well. They picked a fruit out of a bag, and Kofi and Big E got some kind of orange, maybe tangerines, I'm not sure, but Xavier got a banana, and he called it, I believe he called it the unmentionable fruit or something like that, and then they ended up being that was to determine who would be barred from ringside during the New Day's match with Gallows and Anderson.
Yes.
And, well, obviously then Xavier was, they plug Bootios because it actually is a real thing now. It's an actual cereal. It's only $13 a box, guys. Aren't you happy? And then we got our 7th match of the night, the New Day versus the Club. Pretty quick match. Big E got a sneaky pin on Anderson while Anderson was going for a 2-sweet with Gallows for the win. And then, Anderson and Gallows, not happy about this sneaky, fluky victory that they just gave up, beat the absolute hell out of the New Day.
I like both teams, but I wasn't necessarily a fan of this. I'll expound more on TwitWoW.
Well, whether you were a fan of it or not, I know for a fact Big E wasn't a fan of it because he was in the trainer's room after this.
Yes, he was.
So then we got Cesaro versus Sheamus, and Cesaro wins via the neutralizer, and then we had a massive post-match brawl breakout. For some reason, I mean, maybe it's just the pent-up frustration from the draft, but these guys really hated each other tonight.
Yeah, it's good to see that these guys are going to be feuding again. They can always put on good matches.
Tom Phillips interviewed Chris Jericho, who was still making fun of Enzo and Cass, and then he has someone watching his back, he said, and he made up a name, and, he did the Jericho thing, but Kevin Owens shows up and he's just like, "You know what, Jericho, I know you made that name up, but it doesn't matter because I do have your back."
Yeah, interesting stuff developing here.
Then we got our final match of the night, the main event match of the night, Seth Rollins versus Sami Zayn. Thought this was a solid match. What'd you think, John?
Oh, very entertaining bout between these two, for sure.
Seth Rollins wins via pedigree, and then we close things out with Paul Heyman exiting Brock Lesnar's locker room. Go to commercial. When we get back, Heyman introduces Brock. Brock comes out, and Paul does all the talking as usual. He says Randy Orton is basically dumb for listening to the voices in his head, or not listening to the voices in his head, really, because apparently Paul thinks that the voices are telling him not to enter the ring with Brock because Brock's going to just dismantle him at SummerSlam. And he says basically that the RKO is Randy Orton's only real tool that he can use that might work on Brock. And then he goes as far as to say, you don't have the balls to even get Brock Lesnar in the position for an RKO. And just as he finished that sentence, SmackDown superstar Randy Orton shows up and RKOs Brock Lesnar out of nowhere.
Great promo from Heyman and great energy to end it. This is how you end a Raw, and this is how you promote a program.
Absolutely. This is a great ending, and we are going to have so much more to say about it on TwitWoW.